All right, taking control of your parenting, being a great father. Now, I guess I'm speaking to fathers out there. Some of you might be single moms, and so this stuff may apply to you. All right, so I'm going to be using some metaphors. The first metaphor is being a coach. A father needs to be a good coach. Proverbs 22, verse 6. Start children off in the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. Coaches in the sporting world have a tremendous influence over children. If you played in a sport, you know what I'm talking about, because coaches, it's very interesting that sporting teams are voluntary things. Kids say, I want to be on this team, and then they sign up for a father figure who wants the best because he wants the team to do well. He wants each kid to do well, but there's a lot of discipline involved in the coaching thing. There's discipline. There's sometimes it's harsh, hard discipline, and there's a lot of encouragement. There's both of those things going on. And the parent-child relationship is not a voluntary thing. Kids don't just voluntarily say, hey, you're my parents. No, they inherited you. They're stuck on this team. So sometimes they don't always appreciate what's going on here. They don't always understand that as a parent, your goal is to help them succeed. So how do you convince them of that? Proverbs 19, verse 18. Discipline your children, for in that there's some hope. Do not be a willing party to their death. So as a coach, sometimes you have to discipline your children. But how do you do it in such a way that you communicate to them that I'm trying to help you succeed? Now, in the sporting world, somehow the coaches, it seems apparent, right? Because there's this game that you play. And so there's the discipline that happens during the week, and then there's the game where the child gets a chance to shine on that weekend. Whereas parenting, it's a lot harder because sometimes the discipline, I'm trying to help you in a game that isn't going to happen for years down the road. So as parents, we need to try to figure out how do we let our kids know that the hard thing I'm putting you through now has a positive benefit. So that's working hard for a day and then getting paid at the end of the day. See, now you're teaching them that there's discipline, but there's a payoff. So try to find those things that you can do. My dad wanted to sell a baseball mitt for $2, but he let us pick weeds. If we picked 200 weeds, we get the mitt. Well, it took a couple hours, and we got the reward, the hard work, and then the reward were close, so we could sort of get the connection. So as a coach, you see, that's what coaching is about. That's what good coaching is. How do I train you in such a way, little by little by little, so that you understand that you work hard, you get disciplined, you take on responsibility, and then there's a reward. Well, the space between discipline and reward has to be short in the beginning, and gradually gets longer and longer and longer till finally your kids understand that some things in life you have to work really hard, but the payoff isn't for a long period, but it's always worth it. Ephesians 6:4, fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Again, the closer you can make the reward to the hard work, the more they're going to understand that all of your discipline, all of your coaching is so that they can succeed. As a coach, your job is to help your children succeed, okay? And somehow they have to have that sense that that's what you're trying to do. Okay, a father is also a player, okay? You're not just the coach. You're not just sitting on the sidelines. You're in the game. I love this verse. Proverbs 14, verse 4, without oxen, a stable stays clean, But you need a strong ox for a large harvest. I just think this is so awesome because in my experience, there are a lot of janitor people, and there's the athletic director, often at a school. And these two are often at odds with one another. See, because the janitor just wants everything clean. So if there's a big gym at the school, he wants the gym clean. And the more groups and people that come in to use the gym, that is in the way of keeping a clean gym. So if the janitor got his way, no one would ever use the gym. But the athletic director, he's not so much cared about how clean the gym is, he wants it used. So he's dreaming of all the different things that we could do and all the different groups that we could go, thus making it more work for the janitor. Okay, as a parent, okay, without an ox on the stable stays clean. If as a parent you sit on the sidelines and you bark out the orders and you bark out the instructions and you are constantly directing and correcting and leading from the couch, you're never out there. You're not with the kid. You're not helping him. You're not grabbing a broom and showing him how these things go, showing him the work that has to be done, encouraging him along the way. In other words, walking side, getting your hands dirty in your child's life. Show them how to clean their room. Show them how to make a bed. When people go into the Army, they don't just know how to make a bed. They're taught, this is how we do it, and we expect you to do it this way every single morning. And we're going to reward you or punish you if you don't. Okay? The drill sergeant is running with the group. He sends the group on a 5-mile hike, and he's hiking with them. He's leading by example, and as a father, that's what you need to do. Lead by example. Don't just sit on the sidelines and tell your kids what to do. Get involved. As a player, your job is to spend time and energy with your kids, not to just sit on the sidelines. Get in there. Being a seeker. So as a father and as a parent, you want to be a seeker. You're always looking for things. Proverbs 15:4, a wise person is hungry for knowledge, while a fool feeds on trash. Okay, just watching movie after movie is just feeding on trash. Maybe watching a documentary is like learning something that you could pass along. Intelligent people are always ready to learn. Their ears are open for knowledge. That's what you need to be as a father. Proverbs 16:26, it is good for workers to have an appetite. The empty stomach drives them on. Be driven by learning things, by seeking things, by being curious about things. You become an example for your son or your daughter so that they're always open and always looking. God has given us this incredible creation. He's given us gifts and abilities, but we have to seek these things. We don't just instinctively have all these things. We don't instinctively know what God's will is for our lives. We don't know what we're good at or what gifts we've been given. We have to seek out these things. As a seeker, your job is to leave no stone unturned in your search for the knowledge of being a better dad. Okay? You want to be the best dad that you can be. You're always learning. Don't just take what your dad did and now you're just doing the same thing. Always be looking. When's the last time you read a book on fatherhood? When's the last time you watched a video on parenting? A lot of you have never watched anything or never read a single book on parenting. This is your number one job. Success in life is not your job. Success in life is your kids. Okay? That's your number one purpose on the planet. So, are you seeking to learn, to grow? By the way, if you got this far in this video series on parenting, congratulations. You're at least looking. Half of you, of course I'm not talking to you because you didn't get this far, but those that didn't get this far, it's too much bother. It's too much work. I didn't like that second video, or, I just don't have time. Okay, Fathers, being a leader with integrity. Okay, being a leader with integrity. Dad, the team feels your feeding leadership is lacking. Or kids feel that way about a lot of things with their parents or with their fathers, because dad is just not involved. He's leaving the whole parenting thing to mom. A lot of dads do that. See, men are sort of like, we're focused on often one thing at a time. We focus on one thing at a time. We're not great multitaskers. So in the dating phase for men, like, the job is to get the girl. And we will do what it takes. We'll write poetry. We'll buy chocolates and flowers. Okay? We're like motivated. We will do whatever it takes to win the gal. Then we win the gal. We get married. And the new wife is going, okay, well, what happened to the poetry? What happened to the candy? What happened to the flowers? Because all of a sudden, the guy switches. I had one job, get the girl. Second job, make a living. And no one tells women about this. They're like, every one of them is like surprised. What? Hold it. What happened to this attentive guy? Well, the attentive guy is now putting his attention on making a living. And then children come. And sometimes men are like, they're sort of involved, but then they get segued back into the making a living and doing the guy thing. Okay? So it's easy for men to sort of get distracted from their life. And they're sitting on the couch reading something. Proverbs 20, verse 7. The godly walk with integrity. The godly walk with integrity. Blessed are their children who follow them. Okay? So how can you be a leader with integrity? Proverbs 25, verse 14. A person who promises a gift but doesn't give it is like a cloud and wind that bring no rain. Okay, you've experienced that, where it's a windy, cloudy day, it hasn't rained for a long time, and then it looks like it's going to rain, and then it doesn't. It promises, but doesn't deliver. I read some statistic that the number one complaint that kids have about parents, and specifically fathers, is broken promises. Parents make all kinds of promises. Yes, on Saturday we're going to go here and do this. And then Saturday comes and something else comes up and we don't do it. Broken promises. By the way, that's what divorce is. A lot of times parents are going to get a divorce, and then they sit down with the child and they carefully explain, look, mommy and daddy, are having some trouble and we're going to be splitting up. But that doesn't mean we don't love you. We've fallen out of love with each other, but we will always love you. And the child is like, really? I mean, they don't say this, but I'm sure they're thinking it. Really? Because didn't you once say that to each other? Didn't you express love, till death do us part? And, you were always going to love each other until you didn't love each other. So right now you're promising to love me, I suppose, until you don't love me. So what does it mean? Broken promises. Keep your promises. Don't make promises you can't keep. Because what you're doing is you're giving your son or your daughter a sense of trust. Can you trust people or can you not trust people? Can you trust even the people closest to you? The people that say that they love you, can you trust them? A lot of kids have concluded, no, you can't. You can't trust anybody. And so they don't. Proverbs 22, verse 1. Choose a good reputation over great riches. Being held in high esteem is better than gold or silver. Again, be a person, a leader of integrity. As a leader, your job is to lead. So, Dad, are you leading? Are you leading in your home? Are you the one saying, let's do our devotions? Are you the one making sure that happens? Are you the one leading a prayer? Are you the one saying it's time to go to church? It's time to go to the kids club or whatever it is? Or are you sitting back, reading your newspaper, busy with the stuff that you're busy with? We'll let mom take care of all this touchy-feely religion stuff. If you're the father at home, lead. You know, I see this all the time at church. Father is sitting there in church, it's the worship time, he's not singing. I look at son number 1, he's not singing either. Son number 2, he's not singing. Daughter, they're not singing. Why? Because dad's not singing. So how are you leading? You're not leading them to express their worship and music. Now you're like, well, you know, music isn't my thing. I don't know how to do it. You know what? That's just excuses. If your son or your daughter's eternity was dependent on them learning how to worship, guess what? You'd figure out how to do it. You would figure out how to do it. It's whether it's important to you. If it's not important to you, then you don't lead. Quit excuses. Put the excuses aside. Step up to the plate. Lead. Be a faithful husband. The most important thing you can do for your children as a father is to actually love your wife. Your kids are watching how do you treat your spouse? The boys are looking, how should I treat my wife one day? Well, they're looking at dad and how he treats his wife. Proverbs 4, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Avoid all perverse talk. Stay away from corrupt speech. Look straight ahead and fix your eyes on what lies before you. Make out a straight path for your feet. Stay on the safe path. Don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil. Now you're saying, well, what does this have to do with how you treat your wife? Well, look. Avoid perverse talk. Stay away from corrupt speech. Look straight and fix your eyes on what. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Don't get sidetracked. A lot of men do get sidetracked. The straight path is honoring your wife, making her the queen of the household, not getting distracted by all the other things in life, you know, making a living, how popular you are out there in the culture. The straight path is what's right in front of you. Encourage your wife. Honor your wife. That's the best thing that you can do for your children. As a faithful husband, it's your job to set an example of how a man treats a wife or any woman. I gave my father $100 and said, buy yourself something that will make your life easier. So he went out and bought a present for my mother. That's good. All right. Being a man of God. Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all that you do, and he will show you which path to take. Okay, the most important thing you can do to raise your children is to be a man of God. What is a man of God? A man of God leads by example. He's into the Word of God. He's into prayer. He's into church. He's into worship. He's into whatever it is that a walk with God entails. And he's into communicating those things to his kids. He's a person of integrity. He does what is right. He stands up for what is right. He has priorities in his life, and he does those priorities. He knows what his gifts are, and he uses those gifts for the cause of the kingdom, and his kids know that. He's engaged. He cares. He's compassionate. He's energetic. He's enthusiastic. He's encouraging. He negotiates well. He sits down. He listens. All the things that we've been talking about in this whole series. That's what a man does. That's what a man of God does. He's into building God's kingdom, not his own. Proverbs 14:26. Those who fear the Lord are secure. He will be a refuge for their children. Okay, what this verse is saying is if you know God, if you walk with God, then you're creating a secure environment. he will be a refuge for the children. So then the father is now going to be a refuge. Why? Because the father is secure. See, if as a father you are not secure, if you're not secure in who you are and what you're doing, then you're communicating fear to your children. And they're not sure. And if they're not sure, then they have a hard time following you. They have to know that you're secure in the Lord, that you have security. And that when trouble comes, that you're not torn off from the path. You can handle the trouble. And if a father communicates to the children in one way or another that even when bad things are happening, that God is taking care of us, then they will have that sense too. As they go out into the world, they will go out into the world. They will attempt things. They will try things, even difficult things, even things that they might fail, because they know ultimately they are secure. The reason why we don't try things, the reason we don't risk anything is because we're not secure. We're afraid. But if we knew we couldn't lose, see, then we'd go out and we'd attempt things. We'd live boldly. Proverbs 16, verse 3, commit your actions to the Lord and your plans will succeed. Teach your children that. Demonstrate it. The things that you're doing in your workplace. Pray about those things. Don't hide those things from your kids. The struggles that you're going through, make those items for the family prayer. Proverbs 14, 14. Backsliders get what they deserve. Good people receive their reward. Okay? Walking with God, there is the fruit of walking with God. Let your kids understand that and feel that. Being a man of God, as a man of God, it is your job to lead your family in the Jesus way. So are you leading? Are you leading your family? Are you leading your children? Are you showing them the Jesus way in terms of how you treat your spouse, in terms of how you treat your kids, in terms of the job that you do, the money that you make, the money that you use to buy whatever it is that you buy? All the things that you do, are those examples of you trying to be the best follower of Jesus that you could possibly be? I'm going to end with one little cartoon here. Bye, kid, I'm off to work. Notice the little child. Bye, Dad. Do you see this? You see how the kid sees his dad? The kid sees his dad as Superman. A lot of people have a problem with God because they had a problem with their father. The father wasn't a leader. The father wasn't an encourager. The father didn't love unconditionally. And so now that the child is older, he's come to church and he hears about a heavenly Father that loves him, that wants his best, that sees the best, expects the best, has a plan, and a lot of times adults have a problem with that. They have a problem believing that. Why? Because they're still struggling with their relationship with their own father, who wasn't these things. Now, I know that as fathers, we're not going to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. But be honest with your children about that. With my kids, I've tried to come to them and say, look, here's what Grandpa did, and I didn't like it, and I'm maybe not, I've learned a little bit. I'm not totally like Grandpa, but I still have some of those tendencies, and I don't like them, and here they are, but I'm trying the best. I'm trying to overcome some of these things, but I haven't totally overcome them, so I hope you forgive me. And by the way, God can use even the negative parenting that I sometimes do to make something good happen in you. Grandpa wasn't perfect with me, but because of some of that, I am what I am. And God uses all those things. So you don't have to be a perfect parent. But try to be the example, because kids want to be like their dads. Boys especially want to be like their dads from an early age. And then at some point, sons, a lot of times daughters, are often disappointed with their dads when they find out they're not Superman. They're not Superman. Help your kids. You're not a perfect person, but help them with these basics. That you love them unconditionally. That you believe they are gifted and have talents, and that God has a purpose. And you can see that, and you encourage it.